In this video, we're working with the objective graph linear inequalities. The example says graph the linear inequality, and we have negative 2x plus 3y is greater than 12. In order to graph inequalities, we want to graph them the same way we graph equations. So for this one, I'm going to use x and y intercepts because it's in this form. So I'm going to start by finding the x and y intercept for the equation negative 2x plus 3y equals 12. So the x-intercept is where y is 0. So we have negative 2x plus 3 times 0 equals 12. So this means negative 2x equals 12. So the x-intercept, if we divide both sides by negative 2, is negative 6. So it's negative 6, comma 0, because remember the y was 0. Now we find the y-intercept by setting x to be 0. So that means we have negative 2 times 0 plus 3y equals 12. So that means 3y equals 12. Divide both sides by 3. And we end up with a y-intercept, which is 0, comma 4. Remember, the x is 0 and the y is 4. So now I'm going to go ahead and plot these points. So I'm going to plot negative 6, comma 0. And plot 0, comma 4. Those are just the x and y intercept. Then I go back to the inequality. It said greater than, right? It's greater than. So that tells us to use a dashed line. However, I need to know whether I'm shading above this dashed line or below this dashed line. So allow me first to connect my points using dashes. Remember, if it would have said greater than or equal to, we would have used a solid line. I'll go ahead and put arrows at the end of my line. Now, the technique I'm going to use to decide whether to shade above or below is just to grab a test point. A test point, because I'm looking at the origin right here, I will use the origin as a test point. So I'm going to take the point 0, 0. I'm going to plug it in for x and y, and I'm going to see if it gives me a true statement. If it gives me a true statement, then I know to shade below the line. If it doesn't, it's telling me to shade above. So negative 2 times 0 plus 3 times 0, is that greater than 12? So negative 2 times 0 is 0, plus 3 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. So the question is 0 greater than 12? The answer will be no, that's false. Therefore, when we shade, we want to shade above the line. So let's recap one more time. In this objective, we are graphing linear inequalities. I used the technique of finding the x and y intercepts to first graph the line. Because the inequality symbol was greater than, we used a dashed line, not solid. Then we picked a test point to plug back into the inequality. When we did that, we ended up with a false statement, which tells us to shade the other side of the line.